Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So we are moving on to part 2 of my question and answer series that I had over on my Instagram. So I'm just taking some of my followers' questions and I'm answering them here today. So we're gonna start off with succulents and smoothies question. Shout out to her, by the way. Her name is Sam and she also has a YouTube channel. It's Sam Green Sly Fox. I'm gonna link her information in the description down below. We did a collaboration not too long ago, so definitely check her out as well. She asked, are there any plants you struggle with? And do you prefer quality over quantity when it comes to choosing new plants? So yeah, of course, I have struggled with certain plants. When I first brought my sensitive plant home, it started to go really yellow and the leaves were really wilty, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. It turns out it was infested with what I think were spider mites. So I did end up throwing it away. I felt like the leaves were just too delicate to treat the plant and it was just rapidly dying. I didn't want the infestation to spread. So unfortunately, that plant had to go in the trash. I also am currently still struggling with my begonia pink minx, but the new leaves have been growing, so I have hope that it will survive. And when I first bought orchids, I did struggle with them as well, because orchids, when you first purchase them, they keep them in this moss that retains a lot of water. And I didn't realize you should either repot your orchids in a bark mixture that's meant for orchids, or you can buy specific moss that is meant for orchids. I believe it's called New Zealand sphagnum moss. But anyway, all my orchids, the roots rotted away, so I had to throw those out as well. So yeah, those are some plants that I have had some difficulties with, but now I'm all set with orchids. Now that I switched over to bark, they do great. And then she asked, do you prefer quality over quantity? I definitely do. I rarely buy a plant if it does not look healthy. I'd rather just take it home in its healthiest state. And I like to choose plants that I'm gonna have more success with, because if you're buying a plant at the store that's already struggling, it's gonna be a lot harder to maintain the plant's health in your home. So I'd rather just start off with a healthy plant that's pest-free, and especially that's pest-free. If you choose anything at the store that has any kind of mealybug, aphid, any kind of pest on it, I would just not buy it at all. It's gonna spread to your other plants. So yeah, I do recommend starting with healthy plants and you'll have more success with your collection. The next question is from Mindy May. Do you fertilize your plants? So I kind of touched on this in my last video, but I'm gonna show you exactly what I use. So I use different fertilizers depending on the type of plant. So I use these granules at the moment, and you just sprinkle them over top of the soil, and they're slow release, so they will slowly release over time. They break down and adds nutrients to the soil. I'm not too sure if I'm gonna continue using these because it's hard to control how much fertilizer your plants are getting. So I'm going to try liquid fertilizer this spring. I heard it's a lot better and you can dilute it a lot more and control how much nutrients your plants are getting. You don't wanna over fertilize your plants because that can really damage the roots and it can kill the roots. So I'm gonna try a different fertilizer. This does work okay, but I'm gonna try something different this spring. And then for my orchids, I use this orchid food and I just add some of the powder to a gallon jug, and about every other watering during the growing season, I will fertilize my orchids. And it works really well for me. I actually do have a video on how I do this. I'll link that above if you're interested. Okay, so Beatrice Aroso, have you had any success with asparagus fern? I find that mine always become yellow at the bottom. I can't figure out what's wrong. So I don't have any ferns currently in my collection. I know that they do like really high humidity levels, and people typically do have difficulty keeping the humidity high enough in their homes, so I don't even bother with them. But to me, it does sound like your fern is not getting enough humidity, so either buy a humidifier to increase the humidity, or if you have enough light in your bathroom, you could keep the fern in there if the bathroom has a shower, because the humidity is higher in your bathroom. Or you could even try putting a tray filled with pebbles underneath the pot with the fern, and then just keep water in that tray, because once that evaporates, the humidity will be increased around the fern, and that should help. Beatrice also asked me the best fertilizer for monsteras. So the best fertilizer for monsteras would just be a balanced fertilizer, and maybe just apply it. You might want to look online for the exact details of how often to fertilize your monstera, but I'm not exactly sure. I have not fertilized my monstera yet, besides putting some granules on top of the soil, and it worked fine for me. So Black to Green asked, how do you repot plants in clay or terracotta without breaking it open? So it's really simple. If you have a plant you're having difficulty to take out of the pot, what I would do is take some kind of a narrow utensil, like a knife, and just run it along the outside of the, where the pot in the plant is. And that will loosen up any roots that might be attached to the outside of the pot, and then tip over the pot a little bit, and it should just come right out. Unless you have like a monstera, they do fuse to the side of the pot, so you might have to break the roots a little bit when you're running your knife along the outside of the pot, because some plants do fuse to the pot. So it just depends on the type of plant you have in there, how long it has been in the pot, but they do easily come out, especially if you repot when the plant is dry. I wouldn't recommend repotting any plant that you've watered and where the soil is still moist, because it's a lot harder to get a plant out of its pot when it's still moist, and the roots can be damaged a lot easier if the roots are still moist in the soil. So Anna Tana asked, how long do you normally wait to replant your babies after taking them home from the nursery? So honestly, I don't wait at all, even if it's the winter time. I know some people say you shouldn't repot in the winter. I break all the rules. I repot right away because I really am not a fan of plastic nursery pots. Unless like maybe if the plant's in bloom, I might wait a little longer. But honestly, I usually just pot it right away and I have no issues with it. Some people might have had other experiences, but I usually just pot right away. I make sure that the pot isn't too much larger than the pot it came in, because you don't want to be over potting your plants. Charmin Stranger asked, how do you get rid of pests on your plants? Products, prevention. So I fortunately have not had any pests recently, but I do have products that I've used in the past. But I always say the best way to prevent this is to not overwater your plants. I constantly check my plants, like just as I'm passing by, I'll just check for any types of bugs. It's good to become familiar with the different types of bugs and what they look like. So just do some Google searches. Look up what mealy bugs look like, aphids, black gnats. Look for slug shells if you're repotting your plant. So just get familiar with what the different types of pests look like so you can spot them and then treat them. But I'm just gonna go through some of the pest treatments I've used, and that might be helpful to you. So if I've had mealybugs or aphids, spider mites, I've used both of these products. So one is a spray, it's an insecticidal soap. And then this one is a pesticide granule that you sprinkle on the soil. And they both work really well, and they've taken care of the bugs. Sometimes you might have to use these products a few times for it to work, but they both work very well. You want to make sure that if you use, especially this product, because it is a pesticide, that if you have any pets, like especially cats, or if you keep any plants on the ground, low to the ground, that your animals do not eat the plant, because essentially the plant is going to soak up the pesticide, because it's going to get the pesticide from when you water the plant, it's going to soak in the pesticide, and essentially the plant becomes poisonous because of this. So you do not want your animals to be getting close to your plants that you treat with this. So I don't always recommend this type of product, especially if you have cats, because they can usually get to all your plants because they jump on everything. So use this with caution, or if you have children, you don't want your child to get a hold of this. It's very toxic. This one might be a little less toxic, I'm not exactly sure, but I do have a more natural product if you are interested in that. So this is called Neem Oil, and it is an all organic natural product. This is by Bonide, and I haven't really used it yet, but I wanted to try it because I do like more natural products, and it is, I think it's pet friendly. I think it's just pure neem oil. So if you are worried about your pets eating the pesticide or the plants after you treat them, maybe try neem oil, because it's a more natural option, and I think it is quite effective when treating mealybugs and aphids. And it looks like it also, let's see, spider mites, white flies, it treats all of those bugs. Also, if you get mealybug, you can just use a cotton Q-tip with some rubbing alcohol and just dab at the mealybug, and that will kill them if you just do that one by one. When I've had slugs, I use this slug magic, and it works well, I believe. You just sprinkle it on the soil and it will kill the slugs. And you don't want slugs, I believe they will eat the leaves of the plants. I've seen that in my monstera. It ate holes in the leaves and it destroys your plant. So you want to make sure you get rid of your slugs. And then lastly, when I have had black gnats, I've used this product. So I believe it is an all natural product, and you basically just sprinkle this on the top of the soil and water it, and it will get rid of all the life cycles of the black gnats. All right, so Sam Lore 99 asked, I've been buying a bunch of plants from the supermarkets as I simply can't resist, but the soil always gets moldy in the pot and they die. Is there any way to fix this and even revive them? So it sounds like if you're getting mold on the soil, possibly you're overwatering the plants, or the nursery or grocery store has overwatered the plants. So I would let the plant dry completely before you water it again, and that should help. I haven't really experienced mold on plants personally. I've only seen mold when I've used that slug magic. It produced a mold on the soil, but that hasn't had any effect on my plants. But like I said, just maybe let the soil dry out completely in between each watering, and that should help. I don't really have that much experience with mold, so sorry if I don't have that much insight on this question, but hopefully that helps. All right guys, so those are all the questions I'm gonna go over today. This video is getting quite long, so I'm gonna actually do a part 3 of this question and answer, so just so this video doesn't go on for too long. But if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to my channel and press the little bell icon so you're notified every time I post a video. I'm also going to be posting my unboxing video from a nursery in Florida today, so keep an eye out for that. And you can also follow me on Instagram. I post quite often, and I really like to keep in touch with all of you over there as well. All right, so I'll see you in my next video. Bye.